The aftermath of the battle left a quiet hum in space. The UES horizon drifted among distant stars, its hull scarred but still strong. Lyra stood on the observation deck, watching the remnants of the Dominion fleet vanish into the darkness. For the first time in her life, she felt a sense of peace that was not fragile or fleeting. Beside her, Captain Elias Ward stood silently, his eyes scanning the distant galaxy. Though his expression was calm, she could sense the weight he carried, the memory of all lives lost and all battles yet to come. "You did well," he said quietly. "Not just today, but every day since we found you." Lyra turned to him. I couldn't have done it without you. Without your trust." Elias shook his head gently. "You had the strength all along. I just helped you see it. Humans may be many things, but we are nothing without others to share the fight. Courage grows when it is shared, not hoarded." She considered his words, realizing how far she had come. From a trembling, captive alien to someone who now guided lives and helped save others, she had grown not only in strength but in heart. The horizon entered a calm orbital station near a neutral planet, where refugees were safely housed. Lyra moved through the docking bay, distributing supplies and greeting those she had helped save. Children clung to her hand, adults bowed in respect, and survivors smiled for the first time since the Dominion had taken everything. A small Renoran child tugged on her sleeve. "Are you a hero?" he asked wide-eyed. Lyra knelt to meet him. "No," she said softly. "I am just someone who wanted to help, but you can be a hero too by helping others when they need it." The boy nodded solemnly, and Lyra felt hope bloom in her chest. This was the reward the Dominion could never understand, the strength of a heart touched by kindness, courage, and freedom. Later, in the quiet of the horizon, Lyra joined Captain Ward in the strategy room. Maps of multiple star systems flickered on the walls, showing planets still under Dominion control. "You've learned quickly," Elias said, pointing to her notes on the tactical screens. "Your knowledge of Dominion codes and defenses is invaluable. You've saved lives not only by helping directly but by helping us plan." Lyra blushed slightly. "I never thought my suffering would mean anything good." He smiled warmly. "It does. Every trial, every hardship you endured, it gave you insight. Insight that now saves others. That is the power of experience. Even the darkest times can light the way." For the first time, Lyra truly believed it. She had been captured, broken, and treated cruelly. Yet that very experience gave her the strength to guide and protect others. The horizon received word of a Dominion blockade near the outer colonies. Many ships had been stranded, their crews and passengers waiting helplessly for rescue. Lyra's heart pounded as she looked at the incoming distress calls. "We go again," Elias said softly, reading the same messages. "But this time we're prepared." Lyra squared her shoulders. "I will go with you. I can help." Elias nodded. "Good. You'll be our guide in their territory. Stay with me and trust your instincts." The small strike team left the horizon in fast, agile ships. Lyra's hands flew over the communication panels, guiding pilots and translating Dominion signals in real time. Every warning she gave, every instruction she whispered saved lives. When the team finally reached the blockade, they saw dozens of Dominion ships forming a dark wall in space. Yet the humans moved as one, coordinated and precise. They did not attack recklessly. They calculated each move, protecting civilians first and striking only when necessary. The battle was tense, but the Horizon's crew had grown strong and confident. Lyra's courage inspired the rescued aliens aboard the support ships. Her knowledge of Dominion tactics helped pilots maneuver through narrow corridors of space, avoiding ambushes and traps. At one critical moment, a Dominion cruiser attempted to ram a refugee ship. Lyra shouted warnings, directing intercepting fighters to block its path. The maneuver worked perfectly, and the cruiser was forced to retreat. For Lyra, the thrill was different this time. It was not fear or desperation driving her. It was the knowledge that her actions mattered, that kindness, courage, and intelligence could defeat cruelty. When the blockade finally collapsed, the Horizon and its allies guided the refugee fleet to safety. Survivors cheered, not just for the humans but for the unity of all species working together. Lyra looked around at the grateful faces and realized something important. The Dominion had not won because it had power. It had been defeated because people, of all worlds, had courage, heart, and hope. After the battle, Elias found Lyra on the observation deck once more. The stars were calm, twinkling as if celebrating the small victories of the day. "You've changed," he said quietly, "not just in strength but in spirit. I'm proud of you, Lyra." She smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. "I never thought I could feel this way. Free, strong, like I belong somewhere." "You do belong," he said, "among us, among anyone who believes in hope and kindness." Lyra took a deep breath and looked out at the stars. For so long she had been bound and broken. Now she could see the infinite possibilities ahead. She was no longer just a survivor. She was a beacon, a guide for others who had lost their way. Days later, the Horizon returned to the neutral station. Lyra walked through the halls, greeting refugees, humans, and other rescued aliens. Everywhere she looked, there were smiles and laughter. She realized something that the Dominion could never understand. Strength was not about domination. Power was not about fear. True strength came from compassion, unity, and courage. Elias approached her, holding a small tablet. "You've inspired the crew," he said. "Everyone wants to learn from you, how to think like you do, how to care like you do." Lyra shook her head, smiling. "I am just a student. I only learned from you, and from humans like you, that it is possible to care for others even when the world is cruel." He laughed softly. "Then the lesson is shared, and that is what matters." That night, Lyra recorded her thoughts in the digital notebook she had been given. "I was captured, bound, and treated cruelly. I thought hope was gone. Then humans came, not as conquerors but as saviors. They risked everything to help those they did not even know. They showed me that kindness is strength, and courage is the ability to act even when fear is present. I am free, I am strong, and I will share this hope with everyone I can. The galaxy is vast and darkness will always exist, but light is stronger than any shadow. Humanity has shown me this, and now I will carry it forward." She paused, looking at the stars outside the window. Somewhere out there, the Dominion still ruled some worlds, still sought to harm and control. But Lyra knew the truth. The Dominion could not stop hope, courage, or kindness. These were forces no fleet, no weapon, and no empire could ever destroy. The next morning, Lyra joined Elias and the crew on the Horizon's bridge. Orders came in from the command center. More refugee colonies needed help. More lives were at risk. She looked at Elias. "Shall we go?" she asked. He smiled, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We go, and we'll keep going, because hope does not wait for the perfect time. It moves forward no matter the odds." Lyra nodded. The memory of chains and captivity felt like a distant shadow now. She was no longer someone who waited to be saved. She was a protector, a guide, a force for good. As the Horizon jumped into hyperspace, she looked out at the stars rushing past. Every streak of light reminded her of something she had once forgotten, the boundless possibilities of courage and kindness. And somewhere deep in her heart, she whispered a promise. "I will help others as I was helped. I will carry hope as it was given to me. And one day the galaxy will know the strength of compassion and courage." The kind human had saved her. Now she would carry that light to all corners of the stars. The dawn of a new era had begun, one of unity, hope, and the unstoppable power of humanity's kindness. The twin suns of Eden 4 sank slowly below the silver horizon, painting the plains with a warm orange glow. The light reflected on the tall grass, making the field shimmer like liquid metal. A soft wind whispered through the air, carrying the scent of the colony's wheat farms and the hum of distant machines. Eli Mercer, a 12-year-old boy with messy brown hair and bright gray eyes, sat on a large rock overlooking the valley. Beside him was Lyra Hale, his childhood friend. She was the same age as him, quiet but full of curiosity, her eyes always reflecting the stars above. They often came to this hill to watch the twin suns set. For them, it was the only peaceful place left. The colony had been attacked several times by a cruel alien race called the Zerath, tall, armored beings from a distant world who saw humans as weak settlers, trespassing on their claimed territories. Eli's father had been a mechanic working for the colony's defense outpost. His mother ran the small clinic nearby. They always told Eli to stay close to the shelters when the sirens wailed. But Eli hated hiding. He wanted to help. He wanted to fight back. That evening, the air was still. The sky was beautiful, but everyone in the colony felt the quiet before another storm. Rumors said the Zerath were preparing another raid. Lyra hugged her knees and looked at the twin suns. Do you think they'll come again, Eli? She asked softly. Eli didn't answer right away. He was staring at the sky, where the faint trail of a defense ship moved across the clouds. They always come back, he said at last. But next time, I won't hide. I'll be ready. Lyra turned her head. You're just a boy, she said. What can you do? Eli looked at her, his eyes full of stubborn fire. Maybe I can't do anything now. But one day I'll leave this planet. I'll learn how to fight. I'll become strong enough to protect everyone. And I'll come back. She tilted her head, a small smile forming. You promise? Eli hesitated. Promises were important on Eden 4. People didn't make them lightly. Too many promises had been broken by war. But Eli felt something deep in his heart, something fierce and pure. He nodded slowly. I promise, Lyra. When I come back, I'll bring something with me, a ring. And when I give it to you, it will mean that peace has returned. Lyra blushed and looked away. A ring, like in the old stories? Yeah, Eli said, grinning a little. But not a fancy one. I'll make it myself, from something that matters. From something that survived. She laughed softly. You're strange, Eli Mercer. Maybe, he said. But I mean it. Before she could reply, a deep rumble rolled through the valley. The ground shook lightly. The peaceful glow of the sunset was replaced by a distant flash, the unmistakable light of explosions. Raiders! Someone shouted from the colony below. The sirens began to scream, sharp and shrill. The hum of engines filled the air as small defense drones rose from their platforms, spreading out to meet the unseen enemy. Lyra's eyes widened. Eli, we have to go! But Eli stayed frozen for a moment, staring toward the smoke rising on the horizon. He could see small figures running in the distance. The Zerath had landed again. He clenched his fists. They just keep coming, he whispered. And we just keep running. Lyra grabbed his hand. Please, Eli, we have to go now. He turned to her, the determination still burning in his gaze. Someday I'll stop them, Lyra, I swear it. She didn't know what to say. They ran down the hill together as the colony's defense cannons began to fire, streaks of blue light shooting into the sky. By the time they reached the underground shelter, chaos had already begun. Families rushed inside. Soldiers shouted orders. Eli's mother knelt beside the injured, wrapping wounds and calming frightened children. His father was nowhere to be seen. He was out at the outpost where the fighting was worst. Mom, Eli shouted, running up to her. She turned quickly and grabbed his shoulders. Eli, thank the suns you're safe. Stay with Lyra, don't go outside. Where's Dad? He's helping at the defense station, she said quickly, forcing a calm smile. He'll be fine. Go inside now. Eli nodded, but his stomach twisted with worry. He wanted to help. He wanted to see his father again. Lyra pulled his sleeve. Come on. They went deeper into the shelter as the walls trembled. Outside, the booming of plasma cannons echoed like thunder. Eli could feel the fear around him, but also the quiet strength of the people. They didn't cry or scream. They endured. Hours passed before the noise faded. The shelter doors opened and the colonists stepped out into the ruined streets. Smoke rose from several buildings. The outpost tower in the distance was gone, reduced to ashes. Eli's heart sank. He ran toward the ruins despite his mother's calls. The air was thick with dust and burnt metal. He found his father's repair tools among the wreckage and nothing else. He fell to his knees. The weight of the world pressed on his chest. Lyra found him there, silent tears streaking her dusty face. She didn't say anything. She just placed a hand on his shoulder. After a long time, Eli stood up. His face was dirty, his hands shaking, but his eyes were steady. I'm leaving this place, he said quietly. I'm going to join the fleet one day. I'll fight the Zerath. I'll make sure no one ever loses their family again. Lyra shook her head weakly. You can't. You're just a child. Not forever, he said. When I come back, I'll bring peace. And I'll bring that ring. Lyra wanted to tell him it was impossible. That boys didn't become heroes. That the galaxy didn't care about promises. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw something unbreakable. Something purely human. She nodded slowly. Then I'll wait. The two of them stood among the smoking ruins of their childhood, watching the twin suns rise again. Eli looked at the dawn and whispered, This is my vow. The words were soft, but the wind carried them across the valley like a song. The day that had started with light and laughter had ended with fire and loss. But in that fire, A spark was born. A spark that would one day become a storm strong enough to shake the stars. The years passed like drifting dust among the stars. Eli Mercer was no longer the small boy who once stood on a burning hill. He was now 17, tall, lean, and hardened by training. His eyes still held the same gray fire that once made a promise beneath the twin suns. He stood on the metal deck of the Terran Defense Academy, orbiting Earth's blue oceans far away from Eden 4. Outside the wide glass windows, ships glided silently through space, sleek silver cruisers, training vessels and carriers glowing under solar light. For Eli, it was more than a view. It was a dream made real. Every day began before dawn. The Academy trained its cadets with one rule: never yield. They studied strategy, alien cultures, ship systems, and combat tactics. But more than anything, they learned what it meant to be human among the stars. Eli pushed himself harder than anyone. When others slept, he stayed in the simulator room, flying through asteroid fields and surviving mock battles. When others complained, he smiled quietly and worked more. "Mercer," said Instructor Kane, a tall man with a stern voice, "you've got spirit. But spirit isn't enough in space." Eli straightened. "Then I'll get what's enough, sir." Kane studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "We'll see." During his second year, the Academy received grim news. The Zirath were moving closer to human space again. Their fleets had destroyed 2 outposts near the border systems. Every cadet knew what it meant. Another war was coming. One night, Eli sat by the observation window staring at the endless black sea of stars. The lights of Earth glimmered far below. He thought of Lyra and the fields of silver grass on Eden 4. He wondered if she was still waiting or if she even remembered him. He pulled out a small metal charm from his pocket, a piece of broken steel from his father's old wrench, the one he found in the ruins. It was the only thing he had left from home. He had shaped it into a small ring, unfinished, rough but meaningful. "I'll come back," he whispered. I promised. Training grew harder. Cadets faced physical trials on barren moons, survival exercises on frozen worlds, and psychological tests in zero-gravity chambers. The instructors wanted to break them, to see who could stand when all strength was gone. Eli never broke. When storms froze his hands, he remembered his father's calm voice. When exhaustion blurred his vision, he remembered Lyra's smile. His will became like iron. One of his closest friends at the Academy was Rio Tan, a cheerful pilot from Mars Colony. Rio was fast with his hands, quicker with his words, and always trying to make Eli laugh. "You know," Rio said one day after flight drills, "you take everything too seriously. What's with all this quiet hero stuff?" Eli smirked faintly. "I made a promise," Rio raised a brow. "A promise to who?" Eli looked at the stars. "Someone waiting for peace." Rio sighed dramatically. One of those promises. Dangerous things, my friend. They make you do crazy stuff." "Maybe," Eli said. "But they keep you human." Rio grinned. "Then let's stay crazy together." They laughed, but the laughter faded as the next months turned dark. The Zirath War began again, swift and brutal. Human fleets fought across distant systems, protecting colony after colony. The Academy accelerated its graduations, sending cadets into service early. Eli was assigned to the TDS Horizon, a light cruiser patrolling near the frontier. For the first time, he stood on a real bridge, wearing a gray officer's uniform. His hands trembled slightly as the stars shifted outside the viewports. The captain, a calm woman named Commander Voss, noticed his nerves and smiled faintly. "First time on duty?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," he said. "Good. Remember this, Mercer. The void doesn't forgive mistakes, but it rewards courage." "I understand," he replied. "Do you?" she said softly. "Courage isn't not feeling fear. It's doing your duty despite it." Eli nodded. Soon their patrol turned into battle. The Zirath ambushed the horizon near the asteroid belt of Epsilon Theta. Their ships were huge, black armor and red energy thrusters like glowing scars. Alarms blared. "Incoming fire!" The horizon shook as plasma bolts struck its shields. Officers shouted commands. Eli was ordered to the starboard guns. He ran through smoke-filled corridors, helping crew stabilize the systems. A direct hit blew open part of the hull. The defense drones lost control. Eli saw flames burst down the hallway and heard screams. Without thinking, he grabbed an extinguisher, sealed a breech door, and pulled 2 injured engineers to safety. He didn't feel brave. He just acted. When he reached the gun station, communications were gone. The bridge couldn't give orders. The horizon drifted near an asteroid field, and the Zerath ships closed in. Eli remembered his simulator training. If they stayed still, they would die. He jumped into the pilot seat of a secondary shuttle and launched it manually. Rio's voice crackled through the comms. He was flying another shuttle. "Eli, are you crazy? You'll get fried out there." Eli grinned tightly. "Maybe, but they'll follow me instead of the ship." He sped toward the enemy line, dodging debris and plasma fire. The Zerath chased him, thinking he was carrying critical data. His ship weaved between asteroids, each move faster and sharper than the simulations. Rio's laughter came through the comms. "You really are crazy." The Zerath fired again. Eli spun the shuttle around an asteroid, diving into its shadow. The plasma blast struck the rock, causing a massive explosion that blocked the enemy's sensors. Commander Voss seized the moment to strike back. All cannons on fire. The horizon unleashed everything it had. The Zerath ships exploded one by one, retreating into the dark. When Eli returned, the hangar crew cheered. The once quiet cadet had become the hero of the day. But Eli didn't celebrate. He just looked out the viewport again, thinking of the promise that had guided him. Weeks later, during the ship's repair stop at Terra Station, Commander Voss called him into her office. "You disobeyed orders," she said sternly. "Yes, ma'am." "You also saved 120 crew members," she continued. Then she smiled slightly. "That's very human of you." Eli stood straighter. "Thank you, ma'am." She handed him a small badge, his promotion to lieutenant. "Keep that fire," she said. "The galaxy needs people who still believe in something." That night, Eli walked along the station's observation deck. The stars stretched forever, bright and endless. The hum of the station's engines was calm and steady. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small metal ring. It gleamed faintly in the artificial light. He placed it on the window's edge and stared at the reflection of his face beside the stars. "I'm getting closer," he whispered. "One day, Lyra, I'll come back." Behind him, Rio appeared, holding 2 mugs of warm drink. "Still talking to the stars, huh?" Eli smiled faintly. "They listen," Rio chuckled. "Then tell them this, humanity's not done yet." "Not by a long shot," Eli nodded. "We're just getting started." The following months were filled with missions, escorting supply ships, rescuing stranded colonies, and fighting scattered Zerath forces. Each battle shaped Eli more. He learned not only how to lead, but how to protect. His crew began to trust him. Other species serving alongside humans admired him for his calm strength. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but wherever humans went, they brought courage, creativity, and hope. The aliens called it the fire that never dies. Eli carried that fire in his heart. One night, after another long patrol, he wrote a message in his log. "We fight not for power, but for the right to stand, to protect, and to love. Humanity may be small among the stars, but our will is larger than any sun." He closed the file, placed the ring back into his pocket, and looked out at the stars once more. Somewhere far away, beneath twin suns, a girl might still be waiting. And the boy who made a promise was now a man who would move heaven itself to keep it. 10 long years had passed since Eli Mercer had left his homeworld, Eden 4. He was no longer the boy who once stood under the twin suns and made a promise. Now he was a fleet captain, respected, calm and known across the stars as the Silver Wing. His ship, the TDS Valiant, had protected more than 20 colonies during the long Zerath War. But now, the war was nearly over. The Zerath fleets were broken, their leaders scattered. For the first time in decades, the stars were quiet. Humanity had survived, and Eli had only one thought in his heart: home. As the Valiant entered orbit above Eden 4, Eli stood before the wide glass of the command deck. The twin suns glowed below, lighting the silver fields he remembered from his childhood. The cities looked larger now, shining domes and tall towers surrounded by green plains. For a moment, he just stood there silently, his reflection mixing with the stars. "Captain," said Commander Rio Tan, now his loyal first officer, "you've been staring at that planet for 15 minutes. You sure you're ready to go down there?" Eli smiled faintly. "I've been ready for 10 years. Rio crossed his arms. "You really think she's still there? The girl from the story you told me?" Eli looked down at the metal ring hanging from a chain around his neck. "I don't know," he said softly. "But I promised I'd come back. I have to keep that promise." Rio nodded with a grin. "Then go, Captain. The crew can handle things up here. Go find your story's ending." The shuttle landed gently on the plains outside the capital city, New Dawn. Eli stepped out, his boots pressing into soft silver grass, the same kind he once ran through as a boy. The air smelled of warmth and home. He looked around. The colony had grown into a real world now, with sky trains gliding above, clean streets, and energy towers shining with human craftsmanship. The people walked proudly, free and strong. Humanity had turned their scars into strength. As he walked through the streets, people recognized the fleet symbol on his jacket and greeted him with respect. "Welcome home, Captain," they said, but he barely heard them. His eyes searched every face, hoping for one in particular. He found his way to the Central Science Facility, a tall silver building near the city's heart. Someone had told him that a scientist named Dr. Lyra Hale was leading the planet's SHIELD project, a new defense system that protected Eden 4 from any future attack. When he entered the lab, he froze. There she was. Lyra stood near a large holographic display giving instructions to her team. Her hair was longer now, tied neatly, and her eyes held a calm intelligence that came from years of hard work. She looked strong, confident, yet the same gentle soul he remembered beneath the twin suns. He waited until she noticed him. When she turned and saw him, she blinked in surprise. "Can I help you, Captain?" she asked politely, not recognizing him. Eli smiled softly. "You already did a long time ago." Lyra frowned, confused. "I'm sorry, have we met before?" He stepped closer, removing the small chain from around his neck and holding out the metal ring. "You once told a strange boy he was crazy for making promises he couldn't keep." Her eyes widened. For a second, she said nothing. Then slowly, her lips parted. "Eli?" He nodded. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. Two people from different times, connected by one promise. Lyra laughed softly, though her voice trembled. "I can't believe it." "You actually came back," Eli smiled. "I said I would." They walked together through the city later that day, catching up on years lost to war and distance. Lyra told him how, after the last raid, she joined the scientists rebuilding the colony. "I wanted to make something that could protect others," she said. "Something that would make sure no child had to lose their home again." Eli listened quietly, admiring her even more. "You did it," he said. "You made the colony safe." "And you," she replied, glancing at his uniform. "You became what you always wanted. The galaxy knows your name." He shook his head lightly. "I didn't do it for fame. I just wanted to keep a promise." Lyra smiled. "You haven't changed much." "Maybe not," he said, "but everything else has." They passed a group of children playing in the park, laughing as they chased a small hoverball. Eli watched them, remembering the boy he once was, scared, angry, but full of dreams. "This world," he said softly, "it finally looks peaceful." Lyra nodded. "It's because of people like you." But before he could answer, the sky flashed. A sudden alarm rang through the city. "Warning," a voice echoed from the loudspeakers. "Unidentified ships detected near orbit." Eli and Lyra exchanged a sharp glance. "Zirath?" she whispered. Eli's voice hardened. "Let's find out." Within minutes, they reached the command center. The screen showed several small ships approaching Eden 4's orbit, Zirath raiders. They were testing the new shield system. "Activate the planetary barrier," Lyra ordered her team. Blue energy shimmered around the planet like a glowing dome. "It's ready, but we've never used it in combat before." Eli studied the data. "They're targeting the generator field in the north quadrant. If it fails, they'll break through." He turned to the comm officer. "Patch me through to orbit, Captain?" The officer asked, surprised. "You're not in command here." Eli smiled faintly. "Old habits die hard." Rio's voice came through the comms, cheerful as always.
"Captain!"
"I was just about to call you." "We've got company up here," Eli replied firmly. "Hold the line, Rio. Don't engage yet. We're bringing the shield online." Lyra looked at him, then nodded. "You've done this 1,000 times. I'll trust your lead." Together, they coordinated the defense. Eli managing orbital tactics, Lyra handling the shield energy flow. It was like watching two halves of one mind work in perfect harmony. As the Zirath began their attack, Blue beams of light struck the barrier, shaking the planet's crust. Alarms blared. Technicians shouted data updates. Lyra's hands moved quickly over the console. Energy levels dropping to 60%, she said. Eli glanced at the monitor. If we redirect power from the city grid, can it hold? It might, she said. But it'll shut down everything in New Dawn. Hospitals, transport, lights. Eli hesitated only a second. Do it, people can live without lights. They can't live without hope. Lyra entered the command. The lights across the city went out, but the planetary shield blazed brighter than before. Outside, the Zerath fired again and again, but the barrier held. The people of Eden 4 watched from the streets, cheering as the sky burned with blue fire, their world standing firm for the first time in memory. After a long, tense hour, the raiders finally turned away and vanished into hyperspace. The alarms went silent. The city lights came back on. The sky cleared. The stars shone peacefully again. Eli exhaled, leaning against the console. Lyra smiled at him, exhausted but proud. You still make crazy decisions, she said. He chuckled. And they still work. She stepped closer, her voice softer. You really did keep your vow, Eli. You came back and you protected us. He looked into her eyes, the same eyes from his childhood, filled with light and warmth. It wasn't just my vow, he said quietly. It was humanity's. We never stop trying, no matter how far we fall. Lyra reached for the small ring around his neck and held it between her fingers. Then maybe it's time you finish what you started. Eli smiled, the soft glow of the twin suns shining through the window behind them. Maybe soon, he said. For now there was peace, but he knew peace was never permanent. The stars still held dangers, and humans would always rise to meet them. But tonight he was home. The twin suns rose over Eden 4, but there was no warmth in the light today. A cold shadow stretched across the silver plains. From orbit, Eli Mercer watched the horizon. Dozens of dark ships appeared, slowly moving toward the planet. The Zerath had returned. They were larger this time, more organized and more determined. The people of Eden 4 had lived in peace for a few months, but that peace was about to be tested. Eli stood on the balcony of the central command tower, his gray uniform spotless, his hands resting on the railing. Around him, technicians and soldiers rushed to their stations. Holographic maps displayed the incoming fleet. Red triangles approaching from every direction. Status? Eli asked calmly, though his mind raced. Planetary shields are at full capacity, Lyra reported, her voice steady but tense. All defensive turrets online. Civilian evacuation is 90% complete. Eli nodded. Good, but 90% isn't enough. We can't lose a single life if we can help it. Rio Tan, now the Valiant's chief officer, appeared beside him. Captain, our fleet can intercept, but they outnumber us at least 3-1. Eli clenched his jaw. Then we'll make them regret every step. Minutes later, the skies above Eden 4 filled with fire. The Zerath ships fired plasma bolts at the upper atmosphere, trying to weaken the shields. Blue energy waves surged around the planet, deflecting attacks, but the pressure was intense. From orbit, the TDS Valiant and other human cruisers engaged the enemy. Eli watched as the battle began. Small, fast ships darting around massive warships, lasers cutting through the darkness of space. He turned to Lyra. How long can the shield hold under constant fire? Not more than 30 minutes if they focus their energy on a single point, she replied. After that, parts of the planet become vulnerable. Eli's mind worked quickly. Then we draw their attention away. I'll take the Valiant into the lower atmosphere. Rio, cover me. We need to split their forces. Rio hesitated. Captain, that's risky. I know, Eli said calmly. But if I don't, more people will die. That's what matters. The descent into the lower atmosphere was like diving into a living storm. The Valiant's engines flared as it cut through thick clouds. Plasma fire streaked past the windows and meteors of debris shook the ship. Eli's hands moved over the controls with precision born from years of practice. Brace for impact, he shouted to the crew. The Valiant flew low, dodging incoming fire. The Zerath tried to target the ship, but Eli's maneuvers were almost impossible to predict. Each twist, turn, and dive forced the enemy to split their focus. On the ground, the planetary shields flickered under the heavy bombardment. Lyra's team adjusted the energy flow, reinforcing weak spots. We're holding. Just barely, she said. Eli's voice came over the comm. Keep it steady. We've got this. Hours passed in a tense rhythm of fire and counterattack. The Valiant's shields flickered and the hull groaned under repeated hits. Eli's mind stayed sharp, guiding every maneuver. He remembered the planes he ran through as a boy, the promise he made under the twin suns, and the people he swore to protect. The Zerath flagship, massive and black, loomed over the northern plains. Its weapons glowed red, a clear threat to the generator powering the planetary shield. "I'll deal with that ship," Eli said to Rio. "Draw its fire, and I'll lead it into the canyon cluster. It can't maneuver there." Rio's voice was nervous but trusting. "You've got it, Captain." Eli steered the Valiant toward the flagship. Plasma bolts struck the hull, but he kept moving, weaving between energy beams and asteroid formations. Finally, he led the enemy ship into the canyon, a maze of tall rock formations. The flagship struggled to follow. Its size made it slow and vulnerable. Eli saw the opportunity. He fired the Valiant's disruptor cannons, hitting the flagship's energy core. Red light exploded across the ship as it faltered, engines sputtering. "Now, Rio," Eli shouted. Rio's fleet fired in unison. The combined attack pushed the flagship into an unstable asteroid cluster. A massive explosion shook the ground below and lit the sky with fire. The remaining Zerath ships retreated into space. The silence afterward was heavy. The planet's shields hummed softly, still active but weakened. Fires burned in distant villages, but the majority of Eden 4 remained safe. Citizens began emerging from shelters, cheering and hugging one another. Humanity had survived yet again. Eli breathed deeply, the adrenaline fading. His uniform was scorched in places and minor hull damage had left the Valiant battered. He felt every ache in his body, the cost of protecting what mattered most. Lyra appeared on the bridge, her face streaked with soot but smiling. "You did it. We're safe." Eli nodded, but his eyes wandered to the horizon. "For now," he said softly. "Peace is never permanent." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "But we'll always rise, won't we?" "Always," Eli said. In the days following the attack, the colony worked to repair damage and strengthen defenses. Eli moved among the people, helping where he could, speaking quietly with families and children. He saw the same wonder in their eyes that he once had, and it reminded him why he fought. One evening he climbed the familiar hill, the same place where he had made his vow as a boy. The twin suns dipped low over the plains, casting golden light across the silver grass. He knelt and held the small ring in his hand, the same one he had carried all these years. "This is for you, Lyra," he whispered, "for every life we protect and for the promise I made." Lyra appeared behind him silently. She didn't need words. The years of struggle, the battles, the fear, and the courage they shared were already understood between them. Eli stood and turned to her, placing the ring gently in her hand. "I promised I'd come back," he said, his voice firm and soft at the same time. "And I kept that promise." Lyra looked at the ring, then at him. Tears filled her eyes. "It's beautiful," she said softly. "But it's not just the ring. It's you. You kept hope alive when all seemed lost." Eli smiled. "That's what humans do. We fight, we endure, we rise, no matter how far the odds." They stood together on the hilltop, watching the twin suns set once more. Below, Eden 4 stretched out, alive, peaceful, and safe for another day. Rio approached, leaning casually against a rock. "Captain," he said, "you really are crazy. You take every risk and somehow it works." Eli laughed softly. "Someone has to." Lyra smiled, resting her hand on his arm. "And someone always will. Together." The sun dipped completely below the horizon and stars began to shimmer above. The people of Eden 4 slept peacefully that night, unaware of the battles fought for their lives. But Eli and Lyra knew. They had faced fire, darkness, and despair, and they had emerged stronger, proving that humanity could endure even against the most impossible odds. The twin suns would rise again, and humanity would be ready.